Hey all, how you doing? I wanted to go ahead and record a quick screencast to go over this week's assignment. And what we're looking to do this week is to load in the actual DVD logo image asset into our DVD logo project. And this is going to touch on a couple of really key points to programming interactive computer graphics. And that is loading up image data and then displaying that image data on the screen. And you're going to quickly see how we can take this image data and then use it the same way that we were using the geometry where we can animate it around the screen. So let's dive right in. So the first thing we need to do is we need to actually get the image we're going to use. Now I'm here on the course outline and I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to module 6 here, and I did post an image, a DVD logo.png image. Now I just went out and grabbed this image from the internet. I did make sure though that it is a transparent PNG. So that means that the background is transparent so we can see through it so it doesn't look like a white box floating around the screen. So the first thing we need to do, and I encourage you to follow along with me, is to download this image and then upload it to our coding environment. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to go ahead and click this image here, just left clicking right here. And you're going to see that this is the actual image. I'm going to click this download DVD logo.png. It's going to ask you to save it to your file system. Now I'm just going to throw it to my downloads directory, which tends to be my kind of catch-all directory. But the first key point here is you need to make sure you know where you're saving this file. So I'm putting it into my downloads folder, and it's called dvdlogo.png. And we're going to go ahead and save that bad boy. Boom. Now that's saved. Now we can't really do anything with it until we upload it to our editor. So I'm going to pop over to P5.js. This is where we have our current project. We got our box bouncing around here. Let's go ahead and get this file into this environment. Now, we haven't really looked at this yet, but if you look at this little icon right here, this little tiny kind of arrow icon right underneath our play button, if you click that, that jumps out this little menu here. You can adjust the size of it. That shows you the different files that are in our project. Now, so far, we've only looked at the JS file, the sketch.js, or the JavaScript file. In order to create web applications that are distributed across the internet, there are actually two other pieces of technology here. There's this HTML file called index.html, and there's a CSS file called style.css. We don't really care about them right now. We don't have to concern ourselves. We actually look into some of that stuff in later courses. But for now, we need to get this image into this file listing so that we can actually use it. How are we going to do that? We're going to go ahead and click this plus icon, and we're going to say upload file. Now once we hit that, we should get a little dialog here that says you could drag and drop files, or you could just left click right here and it should pop up a little upload window. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm in my downloads folder. If you're not in your downloads folder, you do need to navigate to wherever you downloaded this file. And then we're going to click dvdlogo.png and open. And now this should give us a little indicator that it did upload, and it looks good. You don't see the full image here. It looks like it gives you like a little preview. We can go ahead and close this, and we should see that the dvdlogo.png is in fact in this file listing. Awesome. We're golden. So now the DVD logo file is there. We can start coding against it. We can start to use it. Now, here's the real meat of this. There are a couple of new functions that we need to use, and there's a new function we need to implement. So, just really quick, I do want to back up and talk about images across the internet. So, when we go to a website, say for example, like this site shows you a bunch of really nice designs in web design. We go to any one of these pages. So like, let's go to, I don't know, this looks kind of cool. Let's go ahead and go to this site. Now, if we go to any website, we see all this beautiful visual stuff going on. We see this image in the background. All this animation is going on. Really cool stuff. Now, in order for this to work, what has to happen is you're downloading a lot of the images. So what that means is that there's an image on a computer that's not in your home or on your device, and you go out to that computer and you download it, just like if you were to download the image that we just did manually. Our browsers do this automatically, and you can visualize this by inspecting this in the console in your browser. I'm just going to quickly do this. You don't need to do this part. I'm just illustrating that if you go to any website, and you can see all of the different files that get downloaded in this list. You can even see how long it takes for them to download. And that's the key point, is that it takes time for files to download. So what does that mean for us? That means that when a user tries to use our application or our DVD logo project here, we need to wait for the actual image to download in order to use it. So luckily, P5JS gives us a function that allows us to preload images. So this is basically a function that's going to go out, grab the image for us, download it, and basically block our program until that image is ready to be used. So we can ensure that in the setup and draw functions, we actually have access to that bitmap data, that image data, so that we can use it. So what does that look like? Well, we're going to go ahead and right above our setup function, we're going to create a new function. We're going to call that function the preload function. Now the preload function does exactly that. It's going to go ahead and preload any of our images. Now in order to do that, we do need to actually load the image. Now luckily, if we go ahead and pop open our reference here, and we take a look at the image section right here, and there's a couple of different image functions we can use. Loading and displaying. So let's take a look at this. Which function do you think we need to use in order to load an image? Boom, the load image function. Now, I recommend, I'll go ahead and post a link to this in the course as well. I recommend that you read through this reference. This reference is chock full of good examples. It goes through exactly the code that I'm going through with you right now. You can see here that we're using this preload function, and we're going ahead and loading that image. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go up here. We're going to create a new variable to hold the image data. Now, this is starting to get into variables holding more complex data than what we're used to so far. So far, these variables have only stored numbers. Now, this new variable, we'll call it the DVD. This variable is going to store the actual image data. Now, be mindful of where I just put this. I'm putting this at the top of the program with all of our other variables. It is not inside of any function. That's a key point. We don't want to put this far here. We want to put it, whoops, we don't want to do it here, right? We want to do it up here. Okay, so now once it's there, we can now populate that variable with the image data inside of the preload function. So we could say DVD is equal to load image, and now we need to give a path to this. Now luckily our path is super simple because it's sitting right next to the JS file. A problem we see a lot is how do we know where the file is on the file system? Luckily, you don't have to think about that right now. It's right next to this file. So if you put this in double quotes and you just say dvd-logo.png, this is going to go ahead and load up that image. But it's not doing anything yet, right? The image is in memory. We loaded it, but we don't see anything yet. How do we actually get this bad boy to render on the screen? So think about this for a second. Before I just show you how to do it, where do you think we're going to be using this variable in order to display it? Where do we draw it to the screen? Right, I hope you guessed it. It's right in the draw function. Now remember, we have this kind of two-layer distinction inside of our draw function. We have this section here, which is really where we render. And then we have this section here is where, if I could type, where we calculate where we will render. Right? So it's more of this kind of like a setup and draw kind of functionality, but within the draw function itself. So we're kind of setting up the actual positions and then we're drawing. And or another way to put it is update and draw, update and draw, update and draw. So we've got this loop going on where we calculate and we render. But now, what function do you think we need to change in order to actually render the image as opposed to the rectangle? Right here, right? So right here, we're drawing a rectangle. We don't want to do that anymore. We actually want to draw the image. So how are we going to do that? Let's go ahead and pop back to our example here. And does anybody see what image, what function we'd want to use to draw an image? It's super simple. There's no need to think about it too deeply because it's simply just image. Boom. We have an image function. Really easy. So we can go here and I'm going to go ahead and comment out this rectangle function. Now we're not going to see anything. And now I'm going to go right below this and use the image function. And now the image function takes a couple of parameters. The first is the actual image data. Now, where is that image data? Where do we store it? We stored it in our DVD logo variable. Awesome. Now, the next two parameters, and I should probably pull up the actual reference to this as well, is this function, the image function. There's a lot of information in this one. The image function, if we scroll down a bunch here, takes a bunch of parameters. We really only care about the first three right now. So the first one is the image data, and then the second is the X and Y position. So what is going to be the X and Y position here? That's right, X pos and Y pos. And boom, we've got our DVD logo rendering and running. Beautiful. All right, now there's a bunch of adjustments we want to make here, but I don't want to make this video too long and lose you guys. So I'm going to stop here. This is really the goal of the assignment. Couple of things that I'm not going to explicitly show you in this video that I'd love for you to think about and try to implement. The DVD logo is way too big. We want to make it smaller. How do we do that? How can we adjust the size? Also, the DVD logo, when it's on the right-hand side of the screen, is going off the screen. How do we adjust for that? How do we make sure that we can adjust for the offset of the DVD logo? And third, and this is a challenging one, is that when the DVD logo hits the corners, we want to change the color of that image. Now, we can't simply just use these fill functions anymore for that because this is bitmap data. So we're not drawing geometry in more of a, I would call it an SVG fashion, where it's just kind of plotting and filling. We need to color each individual pixel. So there's different functions for us to do that. All the answers for those are sitting right inside of this reference. You're free to use that or any other reference you can find on the internet. That's pretty much it. So just to recap real quick, we download the image, we upload the image to our editor here, then we implement the preload function, we store the image using the load image function inside of the preload function to store the bitmap data in this DVD variable that we created. And then using that stored data, we call the image function inside of the draw function to render that data to the screen. Awesome. So this is the basis of really kind of using images, and these could be any type of image. These could be drawings and artwork that you've created, and we'll see how we can use this in some animations, but this is the basis of drawing image data to the screen with interactive computer graphics. All right, any questions, please let me know. I'm going to go ahead and post this to the course now. I'll post some reference links, and yeah, have fun. Thanks.